What's up, everybody? My name is Troy, but I also go by TangelaBoots, and today I'm bringing you week 2 of the PEBA. And last week, we won. We're coming off of a win, so trying to keep the streak alive. Today, we've got our match against CC, coach of the Poole Piplups, I believe. Gotta double check on that, but yeah, he's our opponent this week, and I'm just gonna go over my team before we get into the battle. I'm gonna put his team on the screen right about now. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the team that I brought against him this week. So, like last week, I have them sorted top to bottom in terms of how likely I thought each of these Pokemon were to come to the battle. And I was really obsessing over Kyurem Black in terms of preparation for this battle, because Kyurem Black on paper destroys my team. Absolutely crushes it. I think Kyurem Black does that in pretty much every battle, that it comes to, or at least in every draft, team that it's on. It kind of just destroys teams on paper. So I kind of just wanted to be prepared for any kind of Kyurem Black he could have. I wanted to be prepared for mixed. I wanted to be prepared for banned. I just wanted to have options to handle Kyurem B. As you can see, I kind of listed everything else. I'm not really going to talk about too much else. I just mainly wanted to emphasize how much I was prepared for the Kyurem Black. So starting off, we have Scizor. Scizor's back. We have a pretty, straightforward moveset. It's full adamant. The speed EVs are to outspeed a Marowak, a Jolly Marowak that wants to try and Flare Blitz. And the Brutal Swing is obviously to damage that, as well as stuff like the Metagross. Bullet Punch is overall good stab against his team, can pick off weakened threats. And Bug Bite is for stuff like the Umbreon, or things like that want to stay in, perhaps, and take a hit. It's just good overall stab for the things that resist Bullet Punch. Roost is obviously to stay healthy. I don't have U-Turn over Bug Bite, simply just because, sometimes I might not want to stay in, especially against the Umbreon. Scizor's a really good option against something like Toxic Umbreon, and I know that he could foul play me, but I wouldn't want to U-Turn on it and just switch out into something else and let that take damage or get Toxic'd. I'd want to be able to stay in and get the 2-hit KO with the Bug Bite. So that's the reasoning behind that. Moving on to Manaphy. Manaphy is also back for this week. I'm packing a pretty interesting set. So the EVs are about the same. It's pretty standard. But Mantine is here for a couple of key reasons. It's to take hits from the Mega Scizor, especially if it wants to try and set up. Scald's obviously to try and burn it. And Toxic is for pretty much everything else. Now, I know what you're thinking. He has Tapu Fini, so why would I pack the Toxic status? Now, here's the thing. This Mantine is specifically designed to take down the Tapu Fini, because the goal is to Whirlpool Tapu Fini, to keep it trapped in, stall out the terrain, and Toxic it, to start whittling it down. I figured that was one of my best chances at being able to whittle down Fini outside of directly damaging it, and Mantine doesn't mind staying in at all on Tapu Fini because it has Water Absorb. So I can trap the Fini with Mantine. I can pretty much 1v1 it with Mantine with this set. And then once I've removed his Tapu Fini, I can feel free to Toxic everything else. So that's why this set is really good. Toxic can be really good for the Goodra, the Kyurem Black, the Decidueye, even the Umbreon. I know he has Synchronize, but I could do that if I really needed to. And Scald is obviously just for Scald. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking with Mantine. So moving up next, we have Altaria, with a bit of an interesting set. Definitely interesting, not usual at all. So I'm bringing Altaria this week to be a late game sweeper. The goal with this Altaria specifically, for example, if I bring Altaria out on something that threatens one of his Pokemon, and he switches out, I can predict him switching into something like Scizor or Metagross and get the Cotton Guard off, which will actually be able to put me in a really, a really good position against Scizor, with Bullet Punch, because Bullet Punch really doesn't do much to me at all after I get the Cotton Guard up. And once I have the Cotton Guard up, there really isn't too much he has that can threaten Altaria offensively. The Fini is something, for sure. And, Kyurem is a big threat without the Dragon Dance, obviously. But with the Cotton Guard up, I can live hits from his Steel types, which I'm definitely expecting him to bring to counter my Altaria. So that's the reasoning behind Cotton Garden. Once I'm behind enough of them, I can kind of just Dragon Dance up, and then I only have Return, but it's kind of all I need, because if I can, get to +6 defense, I don't care about Scizor or Metagross trying to hit me, and I can just Roost when I have to, and then get up to +6 with Dragon Dance, and then start attacking them with Return. So it won't even matter that I'm hitting them resisted once I've boosted myself so high. So the goal is to kind of late game clean with Altaria. Alright, up next we've got Manaphy. Manaphy is also making a return this week. A lot of my Pokemon are pretty much the same. The ones that I'm bringing at least, not the sets obviously. Just kind of coincidence the way that worked out. But we have Manaphy here, rocking the Tail Glow, Surf, Energy Ball, and Dazzling Gleam. So I kind of have Altaria set up to be the late game sweeper. I kind of want Manaphy to be an early game sweeper if possible. It can also function as a late game sweeper if I need it to. I guess I can kind of switch. But Manaphy's goal is to kind of just get a Tail Glow up and start doing damage, kind of like how I wanted to do last week. The speed is to outspeed Kyurem B just by 1 point. If he's Scarf, it's kind of whatever. But, if I can find out that he's not Scarf at some point in the match, I know that this Manaphy will be able to outspeed him guaranteed. Especially if I can get a Tail Glow off before he comes in, that would be very nice. The Dazzling Gleam is obviously for that Kyurem. It's also for Umbreon. Surf is for pretty much everything else, and then Energy Ball is solely for Tapu Fini. I thought about putting other things in that move slot in place of Energy Ball, but Tapu Fini is such a threat that I really needed to be able to put something there for it. Decidueye kind of walls this set. If I get 2 Tail Glows up, it shouldn't really matter with Dazzling Gleam, especially if I've damaged him prior. It shouldn't be a problem. And then I had the Water EMZ, just in case I need to hit something really hard. If I won't be able to pick up the one-hit KO with the Surf after a +3 or something. That's the Water EMZ is just so I can launch a nuke if I really want to. Making our way down, we have Agron, which is actually another sweeper. Agron's debut. And this is a really interesting set. I toyed around with a lot of different ideas for how to stop a sweep. In the event that he's going ham with, Kyurem Black, or, he's got boosts from Meteor Mash with Metagross or something, or maybe even a Calm Mind Tapu Fini. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, I thought of all the... Oh, Metagross. Scizor could set up with Swords Dances. There's all sorts of stuff that could happen where he could attempt to sweep me, and I wanted a way to potentially break a sweep or stop a sweep. And so Agron is here to kind of put momentum back in my favor if I need to. So the goal behind this set is to keep Sturdy intact and bring him in on something that, threatens me, such as, let's say, Calm Mind Tapu Fini. I can go for a Rock Polish, and then I'll be able to live any hit, obviously, because of the Sturdy, and hopefully Weakness Policy will activate, and I will be able to be +2 attack, +2 speed, and I'll be able to counter sweep with my moveset. This could also work really well for something, again, like Earth Power on Kyurem. I could bait the Kyurem with this kind of set. The Dugtrio is something I was very concerned about. This speed investment will allow me to outspeed Dugtrio after I get the Rock Polish off, if he's Jolly. The speed also just obviously helps me with outspeeding, pretty much all of his non-Scarfed Mons, and even some of the really slow Scarfed Mons that he could potentially bring. Yeah, Stone Edge and Heavy Slam are for stab, pretty much. Obviously, Heavy Slam isn't what I want to click on Kyurem. I thought about just having Iron Head and then getting a different coverage move, but I need Stone Edge to be able to hit Kyurem because Kyurem's heavy, so Heavy Slam's not going to do enough. And then Fire Punch is for the Scizor and for the Metagross, and even for the Decidueye if I really need it. So yeah, that's the reasoning there. And then finally, we have Miltank, who's coming back. Miltank was kind of a last-minute addition, but I wanted Stealth Rocks this game. And a big thing about this game was how he really only has Defoggers. So I didn't really worry about having Defog on my team. I just figured if I can pressure him with Rocks and force him to Defog, he'll get rid of any Rocks that he tries to set up. So I'm kind of trying to use that against him here. So we've got Stealth Rock, Milk Drink, Seismic Toss, and Toxic, with a mixed defensive EV spread. The Thick Fat is really nice. It helps against Kyurem Black, which is a big advantage. It also helps against the Marowak in case that decides to come. Gives me a switch in to, a Thick Club Flare Blitz, which would, really do some nasty damage to a lot of my other Pokemon. And I can obviously Milk Drink that off. Toxic is here again because I plan on removing the Tapu Fini as early as possible to prevent Misty Terrain from being up. So after that's gone, Toxicking things could be really great. I can Toxic things that Seismic Toss can't hit, which is pretty much only the Marowak. And yeah, Miltank's kind of just, pretty basic support here. Stealth Rocks is really good this match because I want to be able to chip down that Kyurem Black. I want to be able to break a potential Focus Sash on Dugtrio. All of that's going to help Manaphy's chances of sweeping, Altaria's chances of sweeping, etc. All that chip damage is really going to come through. So yeah, that's pretty much my thought process on this team. And without further ado, I'm just going to jump right over to the replay, and we can see how the battle went. So here we are for week 2 of the PEBA. I'm obviously on your left, he is on the right, and judging off of the Pokemon that I predicted him to bring, I was mostly right. The Medicham is obviously a pretty big surprise, and it's actually kind of really threatening to my team, especially if he's running, Scarf, for example. Scarf High Jump Kick, pretty scary. Limited switch-ins for that. Mantine and Altaria are obviously switch-ins for that, but he could run coverage for those two, so it's definitely really scary. Everything else, though, I kind of feel good that I was able to predict it. And so looking at his team, I think about it for a while, and eventually I kind of just decide that I want to lead with the Miltank, and I'm just going to try and get up Stealth Rocks. So starting the replay here, he's actually going to lead off with his Mega Scizor. And I'm immediately going to want to switch out because I'm scared of this thing trying to set up a Swords Dance like turn 1 and just, going for a sweep against my team. But he just goes for the U-turn, which is a smart play, and he's going to be able to bring in his Metagross. And this tells me immediately that he's going to have some type of coverage move for me. So I'm going to go into Miltank to try and tank a physical hit. I am Impish. I don't have fully, invested defense EVs, but I am able to take the hit really easily. And he's going to go into Scizor right as I go for my Stealth Rocks. I don't know what his defogger is yet, but it could be the Scizor. But I just have to go back into Mantine, obviously, because it's my best switch in for an attack from Scizor. And he does reveal the defog. So it's kind of good to know that his Scizor is his defogger and not Tapu Fini, which means Tapu Fini has room on its moveset for something else. I just go for the Scald here on the Scizor and actually get the burn on the incoming Goodra, which is really nice. And here I make a very risky play. I go into Altaria. And here's why this is really risky. So, I knew that Goodra would probably have a coverage move for Mantine as well. I knew it probably wouldn't be just the Metagross. Just based off of his team, he needs, coverage moves somewhere to be able to hit Mantine because it's such a good, defensive check to his team. So, I was reading either the Thunder Punch or the Thunderbolt. I didn't know if he was physical or special. But I decided to go into Altaria, and the reason that's so risky is because if he had gone for a Dragon move, I would have lost Altaria immediately. I would have been devastating. But thinking about it, it was kind of really my best option. It was just a really risky option. Because I couldn't go into Scizor, because then the next turn, he would just go for a Fire move. He could even predict that switch in just as easily. Manaphy I obviously couldn't switch into on an electric attack. I couldn't break Agron's Sturdy. And then Miltank, doesn't want to take a Draco Meteor in case he just went for the Dragon Stab. So I just went for Altaria, really hoping that it would pay off, that I made that prediction, and it totally worked. And it ended up, being really great, because we have our Altaria in, and now we're going to be able to threaten this Goodra. So I'm just going to Mega Evolve, and I'm actually going to go straight for the return, and we're going to knock out this Goodra immediately. And that feels so amazing. I don't know exactly what he was thinking. I guess if he thought I was special, he could live a Hyper Voice, but I am physical. I do get hit with the Gooey, so my speed goes down. So I have to get out of here against this Tapu Fini. And I just go into my Manaphy, as he actually sets up a Calm Mind, which is something I'm a bit prepared for, and I set up the Tail Glow to try and compete with it. But he gets his crit Shadow Ball. And I'm like, oh god, I just need to start hitting him. So I go for Energy Ball, and I'm like, crap, it doesn't do enough. And he puts me down to 6% right here. And this is really scary because I know, obviously, that I can just go for Energy Ball, kill the Tapu Fini. That would be great. But something tells me he's going to switch out here. Because he might want to save this Fini. And you know, he could also bring in something to take an energy ball, like Scizor, or the Metagross, and then revenge kill me with Bullet Punch. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, I'm at 6%, I'm in Bullet Punch range. Even if I kill this Tapu Fini with Energy Ball, I'm just going to get revenge killed the next turn. Manaphy's going to go down. So here I'm thinking, I can go for my Z Surf right here. Because if he stays in, I still kill Tapu Fini, same as Energy Ball would have. If he switches out, I'm going to kill something else. So with that in mind, I click the Z move, and he actually does switch out into Metagross, and we are going to be able to send this Metagross into the Shadow Realm. That is a dead Metagross. So this already feels great. I'm up 6-4, and he's obviously going to go into a Scizor to try and revenge kill me, but now I'm going to try and save Manaphy. I know Mantine is my dedicated switch into this thing, and I know he's going for Bullet Punch, so I'm going to try and save Mantine for Death Fodder, which might be really helpful late game. He actually goes for a Tailwind here, which is really, really strange. I don't know what he was trying to do because Mantine isn't very fast. But I do get the burn, so I'm not complaining. He brings out his Tapu Fini, and I realize this is actually a great position to be in because Tapu Fini is weakened, and I can go for the Whirlpool here to try and trap this thing and, you know, get rid of it completely. But he immediately switches out into Medicham, which is really interesting. I guess he wanted to capitalize off of his Tailwind turns. And here, I'm actually going to be able to make a play based off of what I did earlier in the game. Since I saved Manaphy as a sack, and I don't really have much of a switch in to this Medicham, especially if his predictions are on point. Because theoretically, he has something to hit everything on my team. High Jump Kick combined with all the Elemental Punches has pretty much perfect coverage on my team. I guess that's technically an oversight on my part, but that's what I'm dealing with here. So I'm thinking he could be Scarfed. I don't actually know if he is or not, but it might, you know, it makes some sense, especially if you want to be able to ensure outspeeding Altaria, some of my faster stuff. He'd be able to outspeed, such as Heliolisk, which I didn't bring, but it would make sense to Choice Scarf his Medicham to be able to hit Heliolisk with a high jump kick. So anyways, I'm going to use my Manaphy sack right here to try and figure out what move he's going to go for. And he ends up revealing high jump kick, so we just went straight for the damage on Mantine. And assuming he could be Choice Scarf, I'm actually going to go into Altaria, especially because the Tailwind just petered out. So I have a chance to outspeed this Medicham and kill him with a return. But he's just going to go into Tapu Fini, and this Tapu Fini is going to go down. I don't believe that crit mattered, but that's great news for us. And he goes into this Dugtrio, and he just goes for Rock Slide. I didn't really think he'd have anything for me damage-wise, but I just went for Roost in case he had, you know, a surprise Poison or Steel move I didn't know Dugtrio got. And I'm looking at the damage that Dugtrio did, and I decided to go for a Cotton Guard. And I'm like, this is looking great. This is looking good. And so I see that Bullet Punch damage, and I realize that's a 12%. This Scizor is burned. I've got the Cotton Guard up. This is looking like it's game. This is looking like it's the whole game right here. So I'm setting up Dragon Dances, and he sets up the Tailwind, and I realize if that Medicham really is Scarf, I need to go for one more Dragon Dance to ensure that I outspeed. Because he is, you know, under Tailwind and Choice Scarf, I need to be able to match him with my Dragon Dances. So I'm able to outspeed this Medicham, go for a return, and it's pretty much a wrap here. He is going to have the Focus Sash on this Dugtrio, but it's really not going to matter. He doesn't have Memento, or he didn't really go for it if he did. So yeah, this is pretty much going to be GG to CC. Definitely a great game. Played a really good game. And we're on a win streak, and that feels really, really good. We're starting the season off 2-0, plus 9. We got a 4-0 and then 5-0 this week. CC played pretty well. It's just I was really prepared for a lot of the Pokemon that he brought, barring the Medicham, but I was able to play it around it, obviously. And he didn't bring the Kyurem. Like, the Kyurem wasn't here. That's so mind-blowing to me that he didn't bring the Kyurem. But I'm not complaining, obviously, because, I mean, I definitely was prepared for it, and I think I would have been able to handle it. But, I mean, who doesn't, you know, want to take up the opportunity to just not deal with Kyurem? Like, that thing is a monster. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll be back again with Week 3 around Friday. That's kind of when I'm trying to get these videos out by. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the comments below, and I'll see you next week in our Week 3 video.